Hello and welcome to Module 2, Unit 2A. Organizations, the shift from fixed directed work cultures to flexible adaptive work cultures. The traditional model of managing and organizing focused on fitting the needs of the industrial machine technology in the workplace and responded to the social, technical, and economic issues of that era. And this unit are presented to explain and support the shifts from traditional closed organizing and managing to flexible, responsive, more open organizing and managing. Instruction information presented does not tell how, but it provides you with the opportunity to interpret, to make your own sense of the patterns of change and the effects on managing and organizing your own organization. Parts 2A and 2B of this unit. You will find instruction information presented in a variety of formats. The information is sequenced in a planned order. The purpose of this unit and your challenge is to relate the information to the organization model and workplace culture of your own work setting. Ask yourself, does the information provide you with useful ideas? Does the information show you possible changes that can be made? Does the confirm and support the current organizing approach that your organization is using? With other videos in this course, this project was made possible with funding from the Rhode Island Office of the Post-Secondary Commissioner's Early Child Care Education Career Pathway Project. Let's focus on the learning objectives for Unit 2A. Participants will understand the key administrative skills and functions normally applied to a management role. Participants will learn 7 components that interact with the structures of successful organizations, and participants will identify structural components within their organization to determine the state of their organizational structure. We will do this by focusing on an exploration of traditional versus learning organizations and looking at integrated organizational models, including the Kinsey 7S model. Let's start with principles, concepts, and models. Organizations and workplace settings, traditional versus learning organizations, and key administrative skills and functions. Graphic taken from Kevin Bull's article, Transforming a Traditional to a Learning Organization, gives us insight into the traditional organization that is top-down, command and control, and title job description driven. Defines the nature of the organization, which is a stark contrast to the continuous learning organization, where the focus and value include building diverse teams and moving together in a manner that is informed by mission, vision, and values, as we see in this image. You can see the difference between traditional and learning literally flip the entire structure of the organization. Let's learn a little bit about the traditional model. The original purposes of managing and organizing, as stated, were set to fit the needs of that economic era. When we look back on the traditional model, we see that it generated concepts such as specialization, which focused on different skill sets, different departments for different activities such as engineering, marketing, service design, finance, etc. Span of control, which focused on distinct levels of authority, reporting, and decision-making. Job descriptions included preset definitions of tasks and responsibility, what you should do and what you should not do. Work methods provided a prescription for how to, for tasks and sharing information. Set schedules indicated a structure for working and procedures for deliveries, for hours of operations, etc. And finally, defined locations. What was done where in the organization. In reflection to this is a sample organizational chart for a daycare center where you can see things move relatively linear. Does this look like your current organization, or does your organization have a little bit more of that flipped approach that we saw on the first slide? Traditional management was often considered as a closed system and encouraged a closed system that focused inward. The systems were not created to be flexible or quickly responsive to external opportunities, changes, or threats. Traditional management includes two broad classes of worker managers, typically manage control both. They make decisions and they determine who gets information, whereas non-managers are directed by the managers using both of the decisions and the information as key tools of control. Two very important separated work elements included decisions and information. Throughout the structural hierarchy, there's a focus on rules, protocols, policies, directives, meetings, and set expectations. Within the traditional model, organizational culture is predicted on placing more focus on methods, rules, procedures, than trusting in individuals. Douglas McGregor created the term a Theory X organization when he described a strict and controlling organization culture and the controlling management style of a traditional model organization. When we think about this model, we can start to think about what that might feel like for us if we were working in it, and whether or not it's a good fit within the field of early care and education. Now we're going to move away from looking at that traditional model. We're going to move to a learning organization. In order to survive and thrive, organizations have had to change from that traditional model. They've had to become more flexible and creative and open. Some organizations could or would not change and have failed. Some organizations have had to undergo a difficult redesign process, and newer age organizations have been born into the informational digital age and did not require a makeover. Some examples that you probably come right to your mind are Amazon and Google. In many cases, more open, creative, responsive workplace culture has emerged. The more achievement-oriented, externally focused, flexible, structured learning organization has emerged as a pattern for information digital age organizing and managing. In the video that we're about to see, you'll have the opportunity to think about the extent to which some aspects of traditional model remain as they were, and some have been refit, others no longer serve as a value-adding purpose. The roles of managers and non-managers have been significantly redefined. Widespread decision-making and information sharing are now key elements for generating effective and efficient rules and results. The more open and flexible organizing and managing models fit, the more we see them existing in organizations today.
A learning organization encourages personal mastery and cultivates open feedback to see problems and opportunities on all levels. Some argue that learning organizations attract and retain more talents. Others say that there is a competitive advantage for an organization whose people learn faster than the people of other organizations. Here are 6 characteristics most have in common. They cherish an open culture. Learning organizations encourage everyone to share information, admit to mistakes, and practice giving and taking constructive criticism. Once the problem is found, they try to understand its root cause and fix it. To achieve such a culture, walls are removed, information is shared, and leaders show their human sides. They design and implement feedback loops. Some establish 360-degree surveys in which people assess themselves, their peers, and their bosses. Employees at five-star hotels ask guests for their opinions. Top schools may videotape teachers so they can later study themselves. Some even make feedback a team effort. Before any new project, they all get together to kick things off. After the project, they meet again to share and reflect on what has happened. They promote personal mastery. Employees try to achieve personal mastery in their fields. Once they become experts, they feel proud of their work, they are motivated intrinsically, and they can create positive change wherever they are. For example, a cleaner might come up with an idea on how to save water, and an accountant on how to save bank fees. The job of the boss is to connect all experts and give directions. They plan for intelligent fast failure. When they build something new, they don't spend time to make assumptions on paper. Instead, they create what's called minimum viable product, a simple prototype with only the core functions. This is then presented to users as early as possible to test what they think. Because it is imperfect, even friends give their honest opinions. The goal? Fail fast, but collect intelligent information so you can improve while going forward. They steal best practices. Picasso apparently said that good artists borrow, great artists steal. Learning organizations study others, steal best practices, and then implement them fast. The newspaper The Economist took advice from George Orwell. Its editors never use jargon if everyday English works. Printing manufacturers stole the razor and blades business model from Gillette, selling printers cheap but ink expensive. They cultivate a common vision. A learning organization prospers when all members share a common vision. That way, employees can understand the importance of their role, connect the dots, and develop systems thinking. When goals are clear, regulations can be reduced and people can create their own personal benchmarks of success. This reduces bureaucracy, authority, and corruption. Salesman and author Zig Ziglar once wrote, "The only thing worse than training people and having them leave is not training them and having them stay." At a learning organization, education happens as a side product of working together, as everybody learns from each other to adapt to whatever the future might bring. If you like our videos and want to support our channel, visit us at patreon.com/sprouts and see if you want to donate just $1.
Help from the video, in order to survive and thrive, organizations have changed. We saw the shift from fixed and strict to flexible and creative, from closed to open. Some organizations could or would not change, and as a result, no longer exist today. And those that did take on the task and the challenge of redesigning have emerged as successful in this modern era. Achievement-oriented, externally focused, flexibly structured learning organization model has emerged as a pattern for information, digital age organizing and managing. Peter Senge is an advocate for decentralized leadership, a model in which all people in an organization can work toward a common goal. His 5 disciplines of a learning organization outline how that can happen, and are noted here on this slide. First, personal mastery is the development of the capacity to accomplish personal goals. Learning organizations make this possible by creating an environment where employees can develop their own sense of vision and contribution. Next, we have critical value of analysis of mental models. Here, we're looking at the right fit between the needs and strengths of the organization as they are able to be translated by those who are working there. You can think about it in terms of identifying the superpower of the staff that are working there and how that can, paired with personal mastery, help to move toward the team level work. 2, creating a common vision. The shared vision is only possible in an environment of trust and collaboration. Instead of compliance to directives from on high, leadership works together with employees, creating an environment where employees feel heard and are encouraged to contribute. The value of teamwork. Senge says that team learning can only happen when team members are humble, when they are willing to reflect and take into account other people's views, suspending personal bias in order to work as a whole in a collaborative environment. This is an opportunity for people to check egos at the door. It's not about their individual accomplishment, but about the power of what's possible when they come together and work as a team. Lastly, we move toward the concept of system thinking. System thinking is an idea that we're part of an interrelated system, not a disjointed set of personal silos. Systems thinking addresses the whole and creates an understanding of how the parts are connected. Senge says, system thinking is a sensibility for the subtle interconnectedness that gives living systems their unique character. When one part of an organization acts, how does it affect the other parts of the organization? Some aspects of the traditional model remain as they were. Some have been refit, others no longer serve a value-adding purpose. The roles of managers and non-managers have been significantly defined in this new model. Widespread decision-making and information sharing are now key elements for generating effective and efficient results, which we learned a little bit about in Module 1. The more open and flexible organizing and managing model fits, the better the impact on the organization and the accomplishment of its goal. Success in the new paradigm will come more readily to those who perform as achievement seekers. Managing is situational. Things change hourly, daily, yearly, with and without warning. Over-reliance on the traditional model, that fixed structure and rules don't fit the realities of a structure when an organization is open in working collaboratively together. In Module 2B, we'll learn a little bit more about achievement seekers and understand their fit or lack of fit with different organizations. So what was the draw of learning organizations and moving away from that traditional model? You can see here, there are 5 core components that have been identified. Less turnover, a sense of community, new ideas and solutions, success based on knowledge sharing, and smarter employees. What does this all mean? Let's start with less turnover. Employee buy-in and collaboration leads to job satisfaction and better news for the bottom line. As hiring, then rehiring leads to higher training costs and more hours spent on training than performing the job. Overall, when we retain our employees, the IQ of the work that is done rises, and our ability to depend on the staff who work for us and the outputs that we're striving for become more possible and predictable. A sense of community. When companies show employees that they care about their opinions, employees care more about the company, making them more invested and willing to work hard toward the company's success. It's about relationships. Valuing our employees allows them to buy into being a part of the company and the company's outcomes, which makes them more invested in the overall success. New ideas and solutions. As Senge says, creating an environment where employees feel heard and are encouraged to take risks, to challenge the status quo, creates openness to innovative ideas and creative solutions. And you have everyone moving in the same direction, overcoming obstacles and ensuring continued success. is much easier to accomplish. Smarter employees. With more people contributing to shared goals, there's a better chance of success. Sometimes less is not more. When executive managers and employees aren't working alone in their silos and instead depend upon each other, decisions are better informed. And they're based on multiple opinions from different perspectives, which gives us our smarter employees. Companies who invest in their employees, giving them the tools that they need to do their jobs better, make employees more efficient and confident, which leads to innovation, higher productivity, and better customer service when they apply what they've learned. Let's just take a look back, comparing the traditional to the newer paradigm. We're looking at the traditional industrial age to the new paradigm, which is also referred to as the information age. We see the shift from mass production to customized goods and services, from retail stores to e-commerce, from industry knowledge to consumers' desires, from job security to personal freedom and work-life control, a few keepers of knowledge to information being widely available, loyalty to the company to being a free agent, where people choose to stay, not because they feel like they have to stay, authority, dictating what happens versus influence being a part of what happens, and jobs, an individual single construct to projects, things that are open and evolving and that you're part of creating. Traditional management concepts were a response to opportunities that arose in past times. The industrial era presented a significant change from previous ways of working as compared to when people worked alone or on their own land. But the success of the industrial age generated new possibilities, new issues, and different social and technical capabilities. People's needs changed. Their work choices and economic choices changed. Social political issues changed. Throughout the 20th century into today, there has been a need to continually evaluate and adjust the traditional management model. The industrial age began to be supplanted by information and digital concepts about 3/4 of the way through the 20th century. That was the 1960s and 70s. And at this point, the new possibilities became pervasive. The integrated chip and digital technologies and other innovations open the doors to change. Today, expectations for goods and services have significantly changed. Social and economic issues and the needs have redefined how people live and work. Older paradigms have clearly been replaced by new paradigms, as we're beginning to see in our own workforces. When we think about the integrated business organizing model, which emerged out of the shift from traditional to learning organizations, we recognize that it becomes about emphasizing the interrelationships of different elements of an organization. And although the elements can, to a certain extent, be treated separately, they're all interconnected and in balance, where everything matters and everyone matters. Let's explore a little bit of the building blocks for integrated business planning, which gets to the how-to of those learning systems. The image here gives you a sense of the components of the core pieces of this. And I'm just going to review briefly the concept. In an article titled "A Better Way to Drive Your Business," the effective integrated business plan process is identified to consist of 5 building blocks: a business-backed design, high-quality process management that included both inputs and outputs, accountability and performance management, the effective use of data, analytics, and technology, and lastly, specialized organizational roles and capabilities. And so we can see here the subcomponents in each of those building blocks. When you think about your own organization, think your organization is reflected in these components. Are there places that you see a match? Are there places that you see opportunities? Let's move into a more concrete example of integrated business planning through the McKinsey 7S model of change management.
Way back years ago, Tom Peters and Robert Waterman introduced the McKinsey 7s model in the 80s to analyze the internal elements that determine an organization's success. However, change leaders and managers have reaped the rewards from applying this model to change management over the years. Stay tuned to know what is McKinsey 7s model and how can it aid your change initiative. The McKinsey 7s model of change management is a framework that links organizational change to organizational design. It helps change managers manage transitions by working with 7 interconnected elements known as the 7S. These 7 key elements include structure, strategy, systems, shared values, skill, style, staff. There are 2 elements: hard elements and the soft elements. Problematic elements are easily identifiable elements under the management's control. They include strategy. Strategy represents your company's plan for achieving its goals and gaining a competitive advantage. Structure. Structure refers to your company's hierarchy, the chain of command, and reporting relationships. Systems. Systems are the daily activities the employees perform to keep the business running. The remaining elements in the 7s model fall under this category. They are culture-driven and challenging to define. Shared values. These are your company's core values. In the model's design, we place this element at the center to show that it affects the other elements. It is where the other elements originate. Style. This is your organization's leadership and management style. Staff. This is your company's human resources. Skills. Skills refer to the competencies and capabilities of your staff members. Next, applying the McKinsey 7s model of change management. In 5 steps, you can apply the McKinsey 7s model for your change initiative. Step 1. Identify gaps. Start your change process by searching for gaps in your organization's performance. Analyze the hard and soft elements individually to understand where you lack alignment. From there, the top management will know what elements require modifications or if an organizational change is necessary. Step 2. Figure out the optimal organizational design. After identifying the gaps and the necessary changes to attain alignment, you can determine your organization's ideal design. However, this process isn't straightforward. Research extensively with your team and discuss with key stakeholders to discover your optimal organizational design. Once you can envision the new organizational structure, you can start planning your changes. Step 3. Develop an action plan. Now that you know your optimal organization design, developing a comprehensive action plan is time. Your action should include all the steps the company will take to arrive at the ideal structure. Step 4. Execute the change. You can start making the necessary changes, but you must be careful. If not, your change initiative may fail. You can choose change leaders or hire a change management specialist to ease the process. Step 5. Review your results. The elements in the 7s model are constantly evolving. After completing the change, continue tracking them and make necessary updates. Now, you know the 5 steps of McKinsey 7s model of change management. Please don't start your project without our communication plan template. Just visit www.simpleslides.co/blog for more communication plan templates. That's all for today's video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like and share it with your friends.
As you watch this video, did your mind go to your own organization, thinking about some of those missed opportunities, things that may impede productivity, and starting to think about the gaps that you may be able to identify and close? Did you think about the organizational design and the key to which it is co-informed by stakeholders, including your staff, the people that you serve? Do they have insights to provide? Action planning. What steps have you taken, or what steps would you like to take after learning a little bit more about the components in learning organizations? Execute the change. Do you have all the resources, both human capital, fiscal, and other materials that you would need to actually make a change or that change is necessary? And how are you going to evaluate and adjust to review the results that you're getting to make sure that it's what you want? Although oftentimes this change management model is applied in business settings, to early childhood care and education settings is undeniable, especially when we think about all of the different components of those organizations and how, in order to optimize the best results for the organization and for those that it serves, we really have to be moving in one fluid motion as a team. We'll learn a little bit more about management within the context of learning organizations in our next module. But now that you've completed this module, you've increased your awareness of structural components of traditional versus learning organizations. Hopefully, you've had the opportunity to identify aspects of your own organization and where they fall within both of these contexts or in this dichotomy. You've also added to your knowledge base regarding the integrated organizing model and how using this approach, such as the McKinsey 7S model, can help to transform your organization from an open and collective standpoint. And so now we're going to move on to Module 2, Unit 2B, where you're going to learn about managing through the lens of more inclusive approaches. Sure. To check your Blackboard folder for materials and to complete your Google assignment related to this module.